Hey everybody, I'm Mark Denton. I am an alcoholic. Mark. Rick asked me to introduce him last week, I guess. And he said to be sure to say something nice about him, but he would not give me his mother's phone number, so I don't have a whole lot. I did ask him if he was nervous about speaking tonight, and he said he's not. Maybe we should be, Steve. We don't know what's coming out. But I love this guy. I really do. He's one of these guys that walks the talk. And he's also the kind of guy, I've been trying to get him on the board up at Hope Valley for 2 years now, and he keeps telling me no. And last month, Perry asked him, and he said, I'd love to. So he's now on the board with us at Hope Valley. And, anyhow, I know he's got some new news that he may share tonight. I don't know, but he gives a great talk, and it'll be a good message, I know. So come on up, Rick.
I'm Rick McKinney. I'm an alcoholic. It's good to be here. It's good to be at an AA meeting. It's good to be speaking at an AA meeting. I hadn't done this in a little while. The past few times I've done it, I had to wear the mask, which is fine. But I like to breathe through my face, So this is nice, But I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. If the Town Tavern in Boone would have said something, I'd have showed up in a hazmat suit. I'd have shown up like I worked at a nuclear power plant. I can see me and the fellas right now sipping Coors Light through a straw, sort of. See the game. So I'm more than thrilled to do anything I can for AA. It's no mask, whatever. But thank you, Steve, for asking me, and thank you, Mark, for bullying him into doing that. Appreciate that. It's a good opportunity, and I'll tell you, my sobriety day is November 22nd, 2016. I have a home group. That's the Fellowship Group in Reidsville, North Carolina, which started in 1946. A man named Bob Montgomery had a little drinking issue, and he couldn't put it down, and so he called a relative in New York and said, I hear y'all got people staying sober up there. What in the heck are they doing? And he said, I'll get back in touch. And he said, it's Alcoholics Anonymous, and there's a meeting in Winston-Salem. And he went to a jewelry store, and he brought it back to Rockingham County. And man, I'm glad he did, because they eventually moved that meeting Monday night, 8 p.m., they moved it to the church that I grew up in. And I've told Mark before, I used to be scared to death to go down in that basement. I don't know what them drunks are up to, Now I'm scared to death not to go in that basement. You know what I mean? It's a wonderful life, and I don't want to lose it. And I know exactly how not to lose it. It ain't no slippery slope. I ain't on no tightrope. It's not every day I'm struggling. I know what to do, If I got a headache, I take Tylenol. If I got a drinking problem, I come to AA, Get hooked up with a sponsor, get hooked up with a home group. Home group's big for me. I can come here and I can lie to y'all and put on a show, but home group members, they know. I got a couple here, so it's good. They're, Bill and Bob. Not the original ones. But it's... Speaking of Bill and Bob, I came and saw Bill pick up 106 years the other week. I think Bill was his sponsor. I don't know which Bill sponsored which, but it was 54 years, and that impresses the heck out of me. And I've seen 2 54-year chips, one Wallace B and one Bill. And I'll tell you, I ain't heard them brag about anything. I ain't never heard them, I spoke in New York last month. I've never heard them say anything like that. They always seem presentable. They come to the meeting, they sit near the front, they do what they need to do, shake some hands, and they go home. They don't make a big fuss. But man, guys like that are my heroes, big time. Glenn and Dougal over there. When I moved to Reidsville, you can't go 2 minutes without hearing something about Glenn and Dougal. But I started riding around with them, and they welcomed me into this AA world like a mother welcomes a child. Just took care of me, stayed right by my side. Took me to meetings, introduced me to people, got me set up. And, they kind of took the training wheels off, but I still carry them around to meetings, because they're good people. I like them. They're my friends. It's a different relationship. The relationship I have with people in AA is so different than what I was used to out there. And that alone is worth it not to go back. My dad's in this fellowship, so I didn't get anything past that fool. He saw it all coming years before I did. I don't know if he's a psychic or what. But he was rattling his mouth to Glenn, telling him all the stories. But Glenn's been I was talking about this earlier. My dad got sober a few years after I was born for that, to keep his kids. And Glenn's been his sponsor that whole time. 28 years, I believe. So I owe a lot to Glenn. But, my dad, his dad, my dad's in AA, but his dad was just a mean drunk. You know what I mean? And I don't know what the deal was with people back then. They're like staying drunk for 6 months and sober for, I don't even know what that means. But everybody said, yeah, my dad would stay sober 6 months, drunk 6 months. And, the thing is I don't blame him one bit. If I didn't have this program, I'd be a mean drunk, And just that kind of awareness is a gift that AA gave me, because I've said some horrible things about that man, and I barely knew him. And you know what? It took me grabbing onto that bottle and seeing what it had in store to see I could become that real quick. I could be that tomorrow. But I hope not. Good Lord, that'd be a bad talk, wouldn't it? I can't blame anything on my childhood. You hear things about hereditary or runs in my family, gallops in my family. I don't know. I got it. That's the only thing I need to know. And, and it's one of those things where as soon as I could get my hands on it, I took it and ran with it. And I guess similar to somebody with a peanut allergy. Find out pretty quick it's a problem and you put it down, but instead I'm calling people trying to figure out how I can get it every weekend. So it's a little bit different. I'll never forget the first time I came across, beer. I was 13 years old and I was just excited as could be. We split it 6-pack, 3 and 3, and I don't remember what it was. It wasn't that good, I know that. But I acted wasted. You know what I mean? Like I'd already seen the older guys doing it, people who had girlfriends or whatever, and they were drunk and on the movies and stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna do that. So I'm, hey man, I love you, and just acting. And it wasn't, I have no frame of reference. I was a 13-year-old kid, and I just knew I wanted to be drunk. And that kind of behavior was typical through that, middle school phase. And I got in trouble with something I shouldn't have had. My mom took it upon herself to call her friend, who was a detective. And it was more so they were trying to figure out, who the older kid was that had, supplied us. But in my mind, I'm thinking my mom is a dang snitch. She is ratting me out to the dang cops. And you know what, woman? I'm going to let you take me to school and pay for everything I do, but that's about it. We're cutting this thing off right now. And, I got over that resentment. It took some, it's just that kind of crap. And it wasn't until I was 14. I didn't have a drive permit yet. I remember that, but I remember my friend did. And we had to be home by 9. And my friend had some Bacardi 151, that 151 proof. And, you hear that? That's alcoholics. Ooh. But they know this is awful stuff, and Satan might have brewed that. I don't know, but I just remember we took a shot and we made the face or whatever, and they started playing video games. They started watching TV. I'm looking at that bottle. I'm wondering, I want to get back into that thing, and have at it. Do whatever you want to. Parents are out of town. I don't care. And so that's what I did. I just went shot for shot, and the rest of the details are kind of fuzzy. But my friend tells me that he drugged me up to the front door and left me there. And when my mom came out, he was like, "Something's wrong, Rick. See you later." And, she watched me pray to the porcelain god that evening, and she took pictures of me. I don't know why they take pictures of us. Like, that's going to solve it. Oh, you got busted. Like I didn't know I was drunk. And, you know, I didn't care. It didn't bother me one bit. That kind of, you know, what are you going to do to me, ground me? You know, whatever. And I'm going to school tomorrow. You can't stop me there. And, so that kind of mindset is just how, you know, from the get-go, from the start, as soon as the gun shot, I was off to the races. And, you know, it's I'm lucky to be alive, really. Pretty much all of y'all are. So I kept trugging along and got into high school, and I just really didn't care about education. My God, that is worthless. And I was getting into trouble. Golly, court order community service, man. I could stock a Goodwill this afternoon. Let's go. I've done it so many times. I was doing so much court order community service, my grandma used to brag about me down at the Red Cross. And that's pitiful. You know, that's all. I never once told her either. That's awful. It was. I've heard my buddy Cam say it. I was enjoying a reputation I didn't deserve, and that's just what I did. That was my MO, and so. Got an underage drinking ticket. I don't get it either. We had a sober driver and everything, but we were underage. That jerk cop pulled us, and that little sober nerd sang like a canary. I'll never forget it. All of them are drunk. I'm sober, you know. Golly, what's wrong with people, man? That was just the first kind of hiccup where they were kind of sitting me down, like, you know, alcoholism runs in the family. Showing some signs. And I'm like, can we wrap this up? I got places to be. And it didn't matter, you know. Y'all know how it is. We don't care. And looking back, really, the not caring is one thing. You know, not caring, that's kind of scary. The denial is what's really scary to me. I was convinced in my head that I was not a problem at all. I saw no issue with the way I was living, how I treated people, how I treated my family, my mother. I didn't see any issue with that. Y'all are the problem. If y'all were as cool as I am, we wouldn't be having these deals, you know? And it's just that denial is what scares me the most, that I just couldn't even see. But it's, what do they say in the big book? The tornado comes through, and the guy's like, well, at least wind quit blowing, you know? That's how I kind of was. I didn't get into the school I wanted to, and I said, you know, during that, so I started calling people, and I had a friend who knew somebody, and I got in. You can't touch me, and so I'm off to the beach, Wilmington, and I got hooked up with this fraternity. Well, that's a great idea. 50 dudes just ready to get hammered, just whenever, and I'm fresh meat, fresh bait, or whatever you want to call it. I'm in, and it was fun for a little while, you know? I mean, I was down in Wilmington living it up. And I tell people if I could have kept it right there, I would have. If I could, I would have. But I can't. Something happens to me. I started losing friends, getting kicked out of bar rooms. There's only so many bar rooms in Wrightsville. You know, I gotta figure something out. And just hop from one friend group to the next. So you're mad at me, well, I can go hang out with this guy. And then eventually you're just with the losers, and then you're the only loser left. And it's you know, it was funny at the time, it's sad now. I wish I would have taken that time to do what I needed to. But I got beat up quite a bit. I don't know if anybody's ever had the snot beat out of them, but I used to run my mouth. My body could not cash that check, boy. I would be down at that bar saying whatever I wanted to. And, man, them guys were ready. And it just happened so many times. My mom was just like, what in the world's going on? And I remember one time I had these roommates. I've been with them guys for a while. And you know how we do. We come in late. We party hard. We're loud. We break stuff. We don't pay you back for that stuff. God forbid you got pizza or cookout in that fridge when I come home. That's gone. And it was just, you know, it might not seem that serious, but they get mad about this. It builds up. It builds up. And I just remember one night I had a half gallon. I was in there drinking, and they were looking at me just disgusted, just over it. And I was like, y'all look like y'all want to do something. Why don't y'all just come get something right now? And they did. They got some. They were good. They took me to the cleaners, and I was blackout driving around calling everybody. Apparently, one of the people I called was my dad. I don't know why I did that, but he was there the next morning, and he moved all my stuff to this house on the outskirts of town. And I wasn't going to class when I was living on campus. But I ain't gonna drive 10 minutes. And the two dudes who were living there were older than me, and they were partying just like I was. He didn't even realize he set me up. It's his fault. And but so I could have been going to class instead. I was at home with my 4-foot bong, and it was that's what I did. And I was doing all kinds of crap, and I just remember there was like a 2 or 3 week span where they didn't hear a word from me. And if they did catch me on the phone, I was nasty. I would light into my mom, and I would never do that. That's the last person I want to be rude with or short or whatever. And it was just pathetic. And I remember my dad just showed up one morning, and I was sleeping on the couch. Somebody had peed in my bed. I don't know who that was. And, I remember I was just on the couch, rail thin, bags under my eyes, and he's like, all your stuff's coming to Reedsville. I don't care what you do. And okay. And took a Gatorade, some ibuprofen, and hit the highway. That was the end of my little stint in Wilmington. And 1.8 GPA, I think. But came home. My dad had started a business in '81, and it's installation construction. And I went to work for him, and that, I assure you, that was the last thing I wanted to be doing. And I didn't want to be in Reedsville either. I had already outgrown Reedsville. I was a little bit too classy for Reedsville. I've been living in Wilmington. And, so I'm a little upset. Our egos are out of control. If I can just keep that ego down wherever it is. But I moved back, and it was heated every morning, man. He'd come in, and he'd smell beer, whatever, on my breath, and it was just constant bickering. I said, man, I got to get out of this. So I got enrolled in the community college back home. And it was the first time I had ever tried at school. Boy, I was at home with that calculator doing math and trying to get out of Reedsville. And, I got my associates, and I decided I was going to do a little celebrating. And so I went to Greensboro, and my buddy was going to a house party, and I guess the guy had been in the military. I don't know, but he had scorpion mezcal. It's like mezcal, but instead of worm, there's a little scorpion down there. Oh, my God. And I remember him saying, if y'all can finish this bottle, I'll eat that. And I'm like, my God, man, I'm going to be in AA in a few years. Come on, let's go. And so I remember him eating that scorpion, too. I remember that. And then he pulled out that absinthe you can't get here. And you do some sugar cube and fire, or you just grab it out of his hand and chug it. Either way. But I did that, and my friend Brad here can relate. I did a little driving, and the UNCG PD got me. And he says if they're campus officers, that shouldn't even count. And I'm like you, man. It doesn't feel real. But to the state of North Carolina, it was very real. And I don't really like cops messing with me when I'm drunk as shit. I just don't. I don't really care for that. And so I'm yelling at these guys, and they're not really happy with my behavior. And they're like, "Man, get this kid out of here." And I had to call Mama. That's the only person I got, and they did not give me a good report. But 3 out of 10 on arrest. It was awful. I would hate to get arrested by them again. But I got my DUI badge of honor. It's a good story now. I got a little story to tell. I'm a cool guy, and no real feeling of drinking is a problem, or no real feeling of all these lawyer fees that I don't have the money for is a problem, or any of this. This is not a problem. This is funny. And so I got into school in Boone, which Boone is no better for an alcoholic or addict or whatever you are. It's all there. And so that's what I did. I took off to Boone and got a job as a dishwasher. And let me tell you, that is fantastic. You could show up at 4 p.m. in a bathing suit. Eyes as red as Mark's shirt. They don't care. They ain't drug testing no dishwasher. If they could have hired a monkey to do it, they would. I tried so hard to get fired from that job. I don't know what in the world. I mean, I don't know what was going on, man. And but it was great. I'd leave with cash, and I'd wake up with no cash. It was a good life. And I was scheduling classes at like 11 a.m., so I'm cruising through. And I mean, the app's kind of easier than Wilmington. You know, it's like I'm just rolling through, you know. And I figured it out in my head, you know. I know I'm going to be a little hazy at around 10 a.m., but around 11 I should be able to get there. And I made it through. I just and to tell y'all that it's a different merry-go-round would be a lie. It's the same merry-go-round anywhere you go. It's the same problems. I was losing friends, getting kicked out of bars, getting the ever-living snot beat out of me, and anywhere I go, I can run my mouth anywhere. Some dude's ready to tear me up, and you know, it's just crazy that we choose to get back on it. I can't imagine seeing this and then deciding that's better. I don't know what happens to people. The simple fact that people let that happen to them as often as they do lets me know that this thing is for real. I mean, I don't think these people want to die drunk. I really don't. I don't think that they want to have that reputation for the rest of their lives. And you know, I know I don't, and I know exactly what I need to do not to have that. And this whole time, man, in high school in Wilmington and Boone, I was talking completely different in each town, dressing completely different in each town. Just depends on who I look up to at the time. You know, I was just a chameleon or a fake, a phony. You know, I was fitting in wherever I could. Just, you know, if I'm there, I'm, you know, shirt tucked in. If I'm in Boone, I got a bandana. I'm sweaty. You know, I got long hair. Just depends, whatever. And I can just I just didn't know who Rick was. I mean, simple fact. I didn't care to find out either. I just wanted to get messed up. And I graduated from there, and I remember we went to lunch after the ceremony, and my dad was like, "So what are you going to do now?" You serious? Hit me with this question? And a bartender at the tavern in Boone was a real estate agent on the side, and the words just fell out of my mouth. I'm going to get into real estate. And he was like, "Wow, I'd like to hear more about that." And I'm sitting there thinking, "Yeah, me too." Kind of story. And I was like, "Well, you know, this guy, you know," and so I called him as soon as the lunch is over. I'm like, "Can I really do this? Did I just do like this?" And he's like, No, you can. And so I did a carpool, and man, if I didn't carpool with those people, I never would have passed that class. I promise I cheated off them as much as I could. I promise. I showed up to the first class with these thick rimmed glasses, trying to hide my black eye, just, you know, looking sharp. And a mess. And I failed the state exam. It just came in hammered, just failed it miserably. And most people take it again, you know, they got so much in time and money. I know, screw it, you know, whatever. And so I was going to be a career dishwasher, which, you know, dish sanitation engineer. I just said, screw it. So I'm back in the kitchen, put my bandana back on. And I just living down there, just doing that. And really, it was like you're at the bar when they turn the lights on and everybody's gone. You're just sitting there drinking by yourself. That's how I felt, like the party was over. And I'm the last man standing. And it was, I promise you, if it would have been any bit okay, I would have stayed. But I called my dad and I'm like, you know, the real estate thing didn't work out, and I want to come home. And so that's what we did. And at this period, some fight had come out of me. Like, I really didn't want that life anymore. I saw my friends progressing in life. I saw them, you know, doing all these things that I wanted to do. I'm like, why can't I do that? You know? And I'm going to do that too. And so I moved back, and I couldn't. Simply put, I couldn't do it. I don't care where my heart was. I don't care where my mind was. I couldn't do it. I would show up drunk and not hungover. There's a difference. I would show up still drunk. And my dad wouldn't even say a word. He'd just point at the door. Okay, whatever. I remember going home and taking a shower and knocking that curtain off like 7 a.m., falling out, just laying on the floor. Whatever. And drink sounds good, doesn't it? No? But it was just a pitiful place, man. And it was like two bulls in the same ring or whatever. We were just going at it every single day, and I didn't have any other options. I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have any friends left. I didn't have any kind of money whatsoever, like $3.70 talking trash to people. And I was stuck, I felt like. And it just got to the point where we couldn't go 5 minutes without laying into each other. And I said, screw it. And I went back to Boone. And when I went back, I said, ain't no career coming up. I'm single, ladies. And it just, I'm gonna go back in the kitchen. And so they'll take you back in a heartbeat. I can go wash dishes there right now. I had to get a second job to support my little habit, and so I got a job in the morning at Melanie's, and I was working at night at Bestseller, and so I would just go in at 7, clock out at 2, clock back in at 3, clock back out at 10:30, and I was working all the time. I was broke all the time, and it was survival, really. I was doing what I can just to drink, and this period where the ambition was just gone. I don't know what to tell you. So some of that fight, I don't know what it was, but this was when the physical stuff started coming on, and that really upset me. I was not happy about that because I had worked so hard for this tolerance, and it was out the freaking window. I would drink 6 or 7 beers and black out. I would drink half a fifth and black out. I was throwing up all the time, and it was black like this mic here. I didn't find out until I went to treatment that was my gut. It was so torn up, it was blood coming out. And I thought I was doing fine, pretty good, I thought. And and the restaurant weekend is, for me, it was Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'm down at Boone Saloon at 1 p.m. on a Tuesday, blackout, getting kicked out. And I've been kicked out of bars at 2 a.m. countless times. At 2 p.m., a little different. There was some story, like, I would jump around these basements, these one-bedroom basements, they're like just cheap rent, and just a dump. But I was living in this guy's basement, and there was a story, I came home drunk in the middle of the day, and the family who lived in the house above was out, the little kids out playing in the yard, whatever, and they said I come walking up, just wasted, coming for their front door with my key out. And they're like, oh, God, what's this guy doing? And they said I figured out what was going on or something. And they said I turned around and started walking and walked clear off a 4-foot brick wall and just slammed. And they sent the kids inside. They thought I was dead. But then they said I hopped up like something out of The Walking Dead. Went in my little basement and slept it off. Woke up about 9 p.m., blood all over the sheets. Well, throw them in the wash. I don't care what happened there. Just move on. And I didn't hear that story until like a month or 2 later. My roommate was like, I found out what happened to your knee, buddy. And, but it's just a crazy lifestyle. It's pathetic. And I got a DUI because I was starting to make these little deals with myself. I do like no liquor. I'm just going to do a little wine for a little while. So I'm down there at Saloon with a bandana on, sipping wine. What's going on with Rick there? I don't know. But then I was just crazy ideas, and like I did a 30-day break. Oh my God, no drinking 30 days. Holy crap! That's That's code red. That's my last option. Everything else has failed. I'm going 30 days, and I made about 15 probably. And clocked out, went to get me a little Taco Bell, and the drivers, they let him drive through, what can I get you? And I said, nothing. And I drove straight to tap room, and I sat right beside this stranger, and I was like, do you like tequila? And he was like, I sure do. And him and I were instant friends. Boom. All those crappy kitchen jokes I learned came into play real quick. And we're rocking and rolling, best friends. And he's like, man, I'm going to go pick a little something up. I said, oh, Lord, I can't afford that. He said, I'm paying. I said, I'm going. Well, who knows where we went? Who knows what we did? But I know that I came out of my blackout upside down in my truck. The windshield busted out, windows busted out, cell phone gone, shoes gone. Who knows what's going on, man? And out there, wow, I wish I could see my mugshot. I can't find that thing for anything. But I pay good money to see it, though. And I walked down this convenience store and started calling people, and nobody's picking up because nobody cares about Rick at 2 a.m. anymore. That's the boy who cried wolf. I had played that card out with so many people so many times that they wanted me to spend the night in jail, And so I come outside, and there's blue lights all over, and I'm like, they might be looking for me, I don't know. They were, and I had kind of sobered up through the process, and I wasn't my typical behavior with police officers in that condition, and they were quite pleasant. It was a pleasant arrest. Those guys are decent gentlemen, 10 out of 10. And they let me ride up front. I remember they kept the handcuffs off. We're getting out of the car. He's like, oh, let me handcuff you real quick before we go inside. I'm like, oh, yeah, come on, Bobby. Tell your wife I said, hey. And a freaking truck's upside down. There's not much, going to be much more evidence. Everybody else is like, why didn't you run? I'm like, I don't know. So, yeah, too drunk. Yeah, I was hammered. Mind your business, pal. You don't know what you would have done. And, so that experience didn't stop me. That sped me up. I didn't have to drive anymore. I'm not looking for Jesus. I'm looking for Jim Beam. And and I don't have to drive. So now my little butt is walking 1.5 miles in the morning to get to Melanie's, 1.5 miles back to my apartment to get picked up for cellar, and then just keep it going, And I would have done that as long as I could to keep that habit up. I would have walked that every morning and back, and you can't sit down in the kitchen. I don't know if any of y'all, you just have to stand there. There's nowhere to sit, so plantar fasciitis, all kinds of heel problems. It's not funny, okay? It's a real disease, all right? It's just, it was horrible, man. It took the steam out of me. And it's just, I would have kept that up as long as I could, I promise, just to keep that habit. And, I remember my mom and sister were coming to visit, and it was November 22nd, 2016, and they were coming for Thanksgiving. I remember I had to set my alarm for 11 because waking up at noon is an issue. I remember waking up and getting shotgun beer cans out of the sink. It was just me there. How cool is that? I'm looking in the mirror. I got this black eye. And I got all these marks on my head where this dude had beat me with a handheld vacuum cleaner. Like a Eureka, He was mad, man. He went to town. And, I'm thinking, I wonder if they're going to notice this. Of course they did. And, so they get there, and we're standing out in that driveway, and the first thing out of my sister's mouth is, where is your truck? What? We haven't even taken a tour of my place. I got a bathroom and a bedroom. And then she said, where's your truck? She asked me a second time, and I said, let's calm down. Hold on. We hadn't even figured out where we're going to eat lunch. We got some stuff to figure out. And she asked me a third time. She said, where is your truck? And to this day, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened that day in that driveway. But for some reason, I was able to see in that moment, for the first time in my life, that I was a total loser, that I had not accomplished anything. In my head, I was some big shot, but I had failed out of school. I had nothing. And I just, for some reason, thought alcohol is your problem, buddy. And I told them the truth. I just got honest. I said, I got my second DUI. I flipped it. It's totaled. I got $800 and had to give $500 to the junkyard. So I walked with $300 for a Cadillac Escalade. Not a good deal, not a good trade. And I was like, yeah, I'm lucky to be alive. And their face, and I don't want to act like their faces would. They looked horrified and scared, which I've seen that before, but I will never forget that day, the way they looked at me, just like, what is going on? And they didn't tell me till years later that they were planning my funeral on that ride up there. But you know, it's that was my sobriety date, and my buddy was like, you tell your parents what happened to your car? And I was like, yeah, and I did. And I said it might be the reason I quit drinking, and I guess sure enough it was. And so I'm just hanging around Boone, not drinking. That's like an elephant in the room. What the heck are you doing? Not getting wasted, buddy. But I was just like, no, I don't want it. And so anyways, my dad's like, so, you know, what you gonna do? And I was like, well, I'm gonna move home, but I got some affairs to get in order with the dish pit and all that. So give me till January. And he said, okay. And so that's what he did. And February 2nd, 2017, he took me to my first AA meeting here in Greensboro. And it was at the Summit Fellowship Club. I don't even remember what that meeting was called then, but we walk in that little area, and he knows a lot of people, and I'm just standing there like with my blanket, my coffee, and so I go back to the back, and there's an old dude sitting back there, Wayne Stutz, and I had never met him before, and I didn't really know who he was then, but for some reason he just had my attention, and I remember he made a joke. I probably shouldn't, but he. This lady was talking about how she used to chug beer. She said, oh, I could open my throat up and just chug that beer so quick you wouldn't believe it. And he said, honey, I wouldn't tell all these fellas you can open your throat like that. I said, who is this old guy, man? And, but he started sharing at the meeting, and he was saying things about me that I couldn't even say. I knew, but I couldn't have formed the words together to tell y'all. Not that I would have had the guts to. I couldn't have done it in my bedroom by myself. And he's talking about things that are going on with my brain and my emotions that I had never even considered. And I just was floored. And I asked him to be my sponsor that night. He's still my sponsor. If any of y'all know him or keep in touch with him at all, please give him a call. Or he's been trapped in that nursing home, and we took him out to dinner, and it's always good to see him, always good to talk to him, but he could really use some support. I got hooked up with this thing, and with the second DUI, they give you some options, which is kind of nice. They said 7 days in rehab or 7 days in jail, and that was the easiest decision I've ever made. 7 days in jail, that's no problem. I can go there, read a book, eat some chicken nuggets, whatever. And my dad and my sponsor were like, no, we think you should do 28 days at Hope Valley. And I said, I don't know where you got 28 days from. You made that up. But the judge said 7. I'm sticking to that. And I want to go to jail. And mad. I want to be in jail. And they said, no, we think 28 days Hope Valley. And I fought it tooth and nail. And I tried everything I could to go somewhere else. I couldn't go anywhere else. I had to be there. And I said, fine. I checked into Hope Valley March 3rd, 2017, and that was the single greatest decision I have ever made in my entire life. Those people gave me a foundation to build from with alcoholism. They taught me what I was, who I was. They said, you got a physical allergy, you got a mental obsession. They said this thing is progressive, chronic, and deadly. And so that's not many options. And so, I took it seriously, man. I was in there. I was that nerd at the front with all my notes just sitting there, and I was clinging to it like crazy, and I came out, and I had a bachelor's degree in recovery now, so I'm gonna tell y'all all about it. I'm in meetings sharing 3-4 times. It's 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Y'all need to hear this. And, you know, it was a good time. It was a really good time in my life. But, you know, and y'all put up with it. You know, keep coming back. You know, but I got out March 31st, and I had the court case for that DUI coming up April 13th. And every business day I called my lawyer, and he would not return my phone call. He wouldn't take my phone call or return it. And I was a little upset, to say the least, and he didn't know he was dealing with. And I eventually, the day before court, I told his secretary, I was nasty with her. I was like, you better tell him to call me back today. And he did like 45 minutes later, and I was like, what is going on? And he said, well, I got some news. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay before I told you. I said, well, spit it out. And he said, the trooper that arrested you that evening had a little bit to drink one night, went to the cookout, hit a car in the line, hit the wall, fled the scene, led the cops down a high-speed chase on 421, got pulled, blew a .19, and all of your charges have been dropped. And clap if you want to. I hit my knees. I was crying. I was like, oh my God, thank you. I was like, can I get my money back? He was like, no. So I called everybody. I called my mom, my dad. I called the preacher. Man, that guy was shocked. He was like, rehab, DUI, Lord. We need to come see us at church every now and then. I'm like, yes, sir. And man, I took the cotton out of my ears and put it in my mouth that day. I came here and I said, these people are here to help. And I started listening to what y'all had to say, and I started putting these principles in my life, and I started to see those promises come true one after the other. And most of the things that I hold on to and cling to as special aren't things. You hear that. They're moments or places in time that you just can't explain. It's nothing short of a miracle. And I love to see it, man. I don't want to miss this show. I want to be here to see it. If I'm not here, I'm going to miss it. And I want to be a part of it. Watching the light come on in somebody who has been dulled down by that darkness for so long. It's like walking out of a movie theater, and just to see that come on is one of the greatest experiences of my life. It's hands down. Those 5th steps of Fellowship Hall, man, that's where it's at. I try to, I try to keep the social thing with the fellowship with AA going, but man, that service is where it's at for me. I have more fun doing that. And I get in, I like that old-timey AA stuff. I get into the history. I think AA is just a great thing, and I can't get enough of it. And one of the most fulfilling things I've done is gotten into service work, like area-level service work. Started out as CPCPI, and then went to alternate DCM, and then DCM, and traveling around with learn about the politics in AA, and learn about how Bill Wilson started the General Service Office, and just Bill Wilson, man, the stuff he wrote and the stuff that he did that planted the seed for so many. I mean, I know there's several others that were involved in that process, but his pen really, and the things that he did were remarkable, and I find it fascinating. And, I've being on the board with Mark over at Hope Valley. I'm on the board with his wife too. Intergroup, yeah, she's the secretary. Congratulations, new secretary. And it's just these things that used to seem so dull and boring to me are now what I thrive on. And I go to meetings. I've been to meetings in Texas. I went to one in Colorado. Man, I flew out to Colorado, and I was kind of new, and I took my luggage to the AA meeting, and I was just so excited. And man, nobody showed up, not a soul. It was a 24-hour AA building, and they had a 7 o'clock men's meeting. Nobody shows up, and I'm thinking, dang. And this one dude showed up about my age, and I was like, well, I guess you're here to chair the meeting. And he said, I don't know anything about AA. He said, I just quit drinking, man. He said, I looked it up online and found this meeting. said, well, you read the steps. I'm going to go start the coffee. And him and I sat there and we had a meeting. And he told me, he said, man, I'm just tired of getting beat up and wrecking cars. I said, Lord, come on. Man, you got the right guy. You don't even know it. But I tell you, if the miracle hasn't happened for you yet, I suggest sticking around and seeing if it does. But thanks for asking me to speak. I appreciate it.